Heroes, warriors, and adventurers, I have nothing but humility in my heart for there to be 10,000 patrons here at my tavern. And for those of you who are unaware, the name of the channel will be changing to the Black Dragon Tavern come the first of the year. Also, welcome to all of our new Finn friends. I appreciate you being here and all of your love and support on my family's version of the stories of your people, and I am absolutely thrilled to have you here. Thank you so much for all of your love, support, and helping me to be better at pronouncing Finnish words. But because we hit 10,000, I thought I'd give you guys a little bit of insight into how I grew up. The stories that we grew up with came from all over the world. My grandfather and his father's father, going back hundreds of years, have collected and preserved stories from all over the world and made them an integral part of our clan's culture. So I want to share with you some of my favourite traditions that happen around Yule time from all over the world. And then at the end, I'm going to drink a toast with all of you to 10,000 and to 10,000 more. So let's begin. Let's start off out in good old Iceland, where we have the tradition of the Yule cat, where the largest city in Iceland has a giant metal and LED lit up Yule cat in the tradition of honouring the tradition of the Yule cat. And the tradition of the Yule cat is that it's more than a little bit horrifying, but it turned into something very wholesome. That Iceland was very big on making wool products. So the legend of the Yule cat is if you weren't wearing new clothes come Yule time, the Yule cat would drag you off into the woods and eat you. So it was very important that you get people new clothes for Christmas. And now you know why your grandparents are so hell-bent on getting you socks for Christmas. They're not being, lazy and not trying to get you something that you want. They're trying to make sure you don't get dragged off by the Yule cats. The next one is probably one of my favorite examples of how culture kind of spreads around the world, and that is that in Japan, it is common during this wintertime, during Christmas, to have KFC for dinner. Kentucky Fried Chicken, for those of you who aren't aware, is an American fast food franchise that is based around fried chicken that has a bit of a southern recipe to it. And because large fowl birds they're rare in Japan, you don't see a lot of them, and they're not really widely eaten throughout Japanese culture, the scarcity of things like turkeys led to people ordering their food from KFC for this holiday. And it's so insane and such a major prominence in Japanese culture, at least in some major cities, that KFC recommends that the families order their food 2 months ahead of time in order to get it for Christmas. And that's beautiful and an incredible migration of culture, and I just love it. The next one on the list comes from our friends out in Norway. And there's a tradition in Norway, and I'm not sure how prevalent it still is, but back in the day they used to hide the brooms. They would hide brooms so that they could keep the witches from coming. Now, obviously we all know the stereotype of witches flying on broomsticks, and this was something that was fairly widely believed in Scandinavian countries and actually throughout most of Western Europe, the prominence of the broom being relative to the witch. So come Christmas Eve or the nights of Yuletide, all brooms would have to be tucked away and hidden in the backs of closets to keep the witches from stealing them and coming and infecting your home with their evil magic, or perhaps even sweeping out your dirty front porch. Now here in the Americas where I live, there is a tradition in the American South of hanging pickle ornaments on the trees. And again, I'm not sure how prominent this still is, but it's one of my favorite things because there was a private, John Lower, I believe his name was, who, whilst he was in prison during the Civil War, asked the guard during Christmas time for a pickle. And after he got out or escaped, he then made a tradition of hiding a pickle in the Christmas tree every year, and it kind of became a tradition in the South to hang pickle ornaments on Christmas trees. And it's so odd and vague, and I just love that it's a thing. I love that people hang pickles on their trees because one gentleman one time asked for a pickle on Christmas, and now we hang pickles from our trees. That's beautiful, and I love it. The next tradition comes from our friends down in Oaxaca, Mexico, and they have a tradition of sculpting and moulding radishes for a radish hunt. And I don't fully understand this tradition, but I've only seen it a couple of times, and every time that I have, I've seen the pictures and I absolutely love it. This is one of the ones I have the least amount of information on, but there is a tradition of sculpting and hiding and seeking out radishes in Oaxaca, Mexico, and it happens every year around Yuletide and Christmas time. And I don't understand it for the life of me, but it is beautiful and I love it. Now, next on the list is the Giant Lantern Festival of the Philippines, where they light literally massive lanterns, some of them made with candles, some of them made with LEDs, so just absolutely huge lanterns. And the place where it's done, I can't for the life of me remember the name, I'll put it in here, they call the Christmas capital of the Philippines, and literally all it is they just lighted giant lanterns, and it's such an incredible and colourful display, and it's all for sake of merriment and good spirit. And there's just nothing that is more Yuletide and more Christmas than the kind of goodwill that comes from just making people happy for the pure sake of making people happy. And last on our list before we get to the toast is something for our Finnish friends. Now, this is something I've known about for a while, but I don't know how common it is in Finland actually. So I will rely on all of the new Finnish friends to tell me exactly how common this is. But when I was a boy, I visited Finland around wintertime, around Yuletide. And whilst we were there were many people who talked about glögi. And glögi is sort of a wine or a mead, I suppose. I'm not 100% sure on that. But it is drank during Yuletide, during the freezing cold winter, in a sauna. Or I don't know if those two traditions are separate, but as a child, I remember that being it. And that is absolutely one of the most Finnish things in my mind. Stripping down to a pair of shorts and drinking warm wine in a sauna during Yuletide. All right, my friends, let's get to the toast. Let's get to the toast. From one of my favorite bottles. And one of my favorite traditional Irish toasts. Here's to 10,000 clan members and 10,000 more. May the best day of your past be the worst day of your future. And may you always remember to forget to be sad. Happy Yuletide and happy 10,000, my friends. Stay bloodthirsty and remember, all hail.